Hello and welcome back to another card making video. Today I will be using products from Simon Says Stamp to create this fun Hello Spring card. Before we get started, I would love for you to hit the like and subscribe button. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. Today I am going to be creating a springtime card using products from my stash. So none of these products are new. They are all oldies but goodies. I will be using the Simon Says Stamp Raindrop Stencil, the Simon Says Stamp Spring Gnomes Stamp and Die Set, which I don't believe is available anymore. However, if you have this in your stash, it is great to bring it back out because it is an adorable stamp set, and I think it'll be really good for what I have in mind. I will be using the Waffle Flower A2 Layers die set, and I will be using the Simon Says Stamp Friendship Text Background Stamp. I use this a lot. It's one of my favorite background stamps. And I will also be using some Gina K Designs dye inks in the color Blue Lagoon, Blue Raspberry, and Blue Denim. So here is a panel that I have cut down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I am going to bring out my stencil. And I'm actually gonna do this on top of my Waffle Flower stencil mat. This is a silicone base mat. I use it for everything, not just stenciling, but I like that it's white. Well, it was white. It's stained, but that's okay because it still works fantastic. I'm gonna line this up. How do I want this? Kind of want that raindrop to be right there. So even though this is a silicone based mat, I'm still gonna tape this down because I don't want it to shift. Whoops. All right, I'm gonna bring out my colors, starting with the color Blue Denim. I'm gonna use a blending brush, and I'm going to ink up the top portion of my raindrops. So I decided to make a rainy themed spring card because, well, spring is coming up and it will not stop raining here in California, especially on the peninsula. We keep getting like flood warnings and evacuation warnings. We even had a tornado warning, which is rare because we don't get tornadoes in California. And then I'm going to switch to Blue Raspberry. Thank goodness that was a very short tornado warning. So I hope everyone else is having better weather than us, although I know some of the states are snowing, so to be honest, I can't tell if I'd prefer snow or rain. Part of me says snow, and maybe that's because I get rain, just like I'm sure some people would say who get snow would say that they would prefer rain. Okay, so I am now coming in with Blue Raspberry as my mid-tone color. And one thing I love about stencils is it doesn't have to be perfect because you're not inking up the entire panel. You're just inking up whatever the image is on the stencil, and they kind of help you blend into the next color because there's less surface area that you're adding ink to. So now I'll come in with the Blue Lagoon. And I will be switching to my turquoise brush since this is a turquoise color. And I don't wash my brushes. Every once in a while, I might wash my pigment brushes that I use for my Distress Oxides, But for my dye inks, all I do is I literally take a paper towel and I rub whatever ink color I use last off until I dip it into another color. And so here I will be coming in with the blue Lagoon, making sure to come up a little into the blue raspberry. Perfect. Okay, so let's remove the stencil. Oh, that looks so good. I like it. I'm gonna peel off that tape. Oh, I just got my fingerprint on there. That is okay. How did I already get ink everywhere? I wonder, I could probably erase that with a eraser. My sand eraser. Probably get that off. I'm afraid to touch it now because I feel like I don't know where that ink came from, but it's probably when I touched the stencil. All right. I'm not too worried about it. I think this is kind of where my image is going to go, so it'll be fine. Okay, so I'm gonna clean up my stencil mat. Hold on, let me dust off the eraser shavings, and I will be using, oh yeah, I did touch it, some rubbing alcohol to spray down my stencil, and a paper towel so I can just wipe that up. So I will rub the back and the front because the rubbing alcohol does seep underneath the stencil, and this is just temporary, just so it doesn't stain. And then I will rinse it off later under some warm soapy water. Perfect. Okay, that looks great. So I'm gonna set this off to the side. Bring in our text background, and I am a sucker for all text backgrounds. I love them. I have a few of them, but for some reason I always tend to grab the friendship text background from Simon Says Stamp. Okay. So because this is a red rubber cling stamp, we will need to remove the inside Misti pad. So there's nothing in the Misti, it is completely empty. I'm going to bring in my sticky mat. And let's bring it up there. Then I'm going to bring in my ink blended background. Just going to put that in the Misti. See if I can zoom out a little bit. All right. And I'm going to line up my text. Just want to make sure that the words are going in the correct direction, which is this way. I'll close the door of my Misti. Perfect. So I will be using my Hero Arts Unicorn White Pigment Ink. This is my favorite white pigment ink. I've tried quite a few, and this is the one that seems to work the best for me. I don't know about you guys, but white pigment ink seems to be a really hard ink to work with. All right. So I'm going to stamp that down using my stamping tool so I can get that even pressure. I could use my sleeve if I wanted to. You could press down with your hands, but I like using my stamping tool. And then I will stamp that again. Now, pigment ink does take longer to dry because it is pigment and not dye ink. Oh, that looks really good. So we will cover my lid so I don't put my hand in it, because inevitably I will. Move my magnet that is really stuck on there. All right. I'm actually going to use my spatula, if I can get my fingers in here, to help peel this up. Normally I would take the sticky mat out of the Misti and peel it back, but because again this is pigment ink, I just want to make sure that I'm not touching it because it's still wet. Now off screen, I did do a background that instead of using the white pigment ink, I actually used the Gina K Designs Whisper Amalgam Ink. And I will show you what that looks like. Let me just put the cover on my sticky mat. Perfect. Oh my gosh, struggle. Okay, so I need to clean off my stamp, but for right now, because I'm filming, we're just gonna do that, and I will take care of that in a minute. Okay, so again, here is the white pigment ink. Let me zoom in. Here's the white pigment ink. And here is the Whisper Amalgam Ink that I used from Gina K Designs. Now, the difference is the text on the actual raindrops, there's really not much of a difference. I mean, the white pigment ink, it is, you know, a little bit more white. However, the amalgam ink looks pretty similar. But when you're using the pigment ink, it is harder in the white areas to see the words. I mean, in person, you could really see it. You know that there's text there. However, if you want it to show a little bit more and really be noticeable, use a dark color. You could use the Whisper ink, and then you would see it. Now, the Whisper ink does go on light, so I actually stamped the Whisper ink 3 times, and that's how I was able to kind of get it a little bit darker. Obviously, the less you stamp, the lighter it is. But I like both, to be honest. And so I have already stamped and colored my image with Copic markers, and I stamped it twice because I wasn't sure which background I was going to use. I like them both. I think they are similar, but definitely have 2 different looks. So I'm actually going to use both of these panels and create 2 cards. Wasn't what I was originally going to do, but it's okay. So again, using the Spring Gnome stamp set, I went ahead and I colored the gnome holding the umbrella with the raindrops because it fits our theme. Now, I'm really slow at Copic coloring, so I decided to color ahead of time. I'm not the greatest colorist. There are plenty of videos and crafters who will add that in their video, and maybe from time to time I might, but again, just to save time, I went ahead and colored them off screen. So we still need to cut this one out. But before we do that, let's bring in the background with the Whisper ink. And just to show you what that looks like, if I can find it, this is the Amalgam ink from Gina K Designs that I used in the color Whisper. So I have also used my A2 layering dies, and I created a frame. And I wasn't sure which cardstock I wanted to use, so I actually cut out two different. This one is the, I believe it is called, they're both from Gina K Designs, and it is, oh, of course I did not label it. It's metallic gray. I'll put the, in the description box, I'll list everything, and I will list the actual color of this cardstock. But it is more of a metallic color. And then I used, for the darker gray, I used Stormy Sky. So you kind of have a darker gray, and then you have a lighter gray. And again, I wasn't sure which one I was going to use, and so I'm like, you know what, I'll just create two cards. So I think, to be honest, I like the Stormy Sky better, but we already have this one cut, so this is the one that we're going to use. Okay. So I will use my Gina K Designs Connect adhesive. And I'll run that along the edge of the frame. Okay. And I like using liquid adhesive because it gives me wiggle room. I am not the best at eyeballing things, so on the first try. So I definitely move my panels around. And I think that looks decent, so that'll work. Okay. Here is my little guy. Now, I wasn't sure if I should, I'm gonna put him down here in the corner. I don't know if I should keep him flat or if I should pop him up for some dimension. Let's pop him up. I think he would look better if I pop him up. All right. I'm gonna cut a piece off with my Simon Says stamp scissors. I like these because they have a non-stick coating on them. I haven't had to wipe them off. I'm sure eventually I might have to, but I've been using them for a while now, cutting my foam tape, and I haven't had any issues, so. One there, and I will put one right here. I think I'm going to do a small piece right here. Yay. Okay, actually, before I take that off, I'm also going to stamp and heat emboss my sentiments, which are from the stamp set, same stamp set. I'm going to heat emboss with white embossing powder on black cardstock, spring. And here's where I couldn't decide, and I have to do this again because I've only heat embossed and cut out one. But what I couldn't figure out is if I want to do the hello in black with white embossing powder, or if I do black embossing powder on white. So originally, and I have to recut this out because originally I had this on an oval, And I was going to put that in the center of the card, but I ended up not liking it. So I was like, well, let's see what happens if I cut this down. So there are actually stitch lines right here that I actually need to, again, redo this, but just to kind of give me an idea. I think I kind of like that. I need to redo this. So let's move this to the side. Bring in a Misti. And I'm just digging in my scrap bin. This will work. Oops. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so since I'm heat embossing, again, you need to prep your cardstock. So using an anti-static powder tool. Mine is from Tailored Expressions, as you all know if you watch my videos. I'm using some Versamark, because it is a clear sticky ink. I will stamp that on my cardstock. Oh, that looks really good. So that's not going to go far because we still have to stamp the hello. In fact, actually, clear sticky ink does not dry super fast, so we have time to stamp our hello. I should do that a little bit bigger because I'm going to stamp 2 of them. All right, I don't need him anymore, so we can move him out of the way. Put him back on the carrier sheet. So here's the spring and the hello, again, using the same stamp set. So here. Again, I'm going to prep my card stock. I'm going to stamp the sentiment. So this is a very small sentiment, and I don't want to distort the letters, so I'm not going to press very hard. I'm just going to use the door to kind of press the stamp into the cardstock. Okay, I'm going to flip my panel over. Oops, get in there. I touched that, so I'm going to, making sure not to put any anti-static powder tool over my already stamped area. Stamp it again. Okay, that looks great. So, get this out of here. And this one is my black scratch paper, so I'm going to bring in my, nope. Right. Perfect. Okay, and so any areas I have embossing powder, I'm just going to take a paintbrush, a dry paintbrush, and just wipe off that extra powder. You can also blow. Oh, that's part of the paper that's on there. Anyway, okay, so we're going to move that off to the side, close our black embossing powder. And now I will switch to the white embossing powder. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna use a microfiber cloth to try to brush off any extra powder that might be on here. Okay. All right, so let's bring this guy back in. Spring. I guess the question is, do I want to pop these up as well? Maybe I do. Do I want to pop them both up, or do I only want one? I want to keep that one down and pop this one up? Or do I want to pop them all up? Give them all dimension. Why not? We'll add the foam tape to the spring, and for the hellos, I'll do thinner, so that way it gives it different depths. That'll work. Okay, so I'm going to use slightly thinner foam tape for the hello. Whoops. And I will use the thicker 3D foam tape for the spring and for the gnome. That's a great idea. Okay, so let's put the gnome down first. Okay, and I'm going to use some liquid adhesive on the back of my foam tape, so that way I have some wiggle room to really line him up and place him. Otherwise, it would just stick to wherever I put him, and that would be it. So I think I want him right here. Does he look straight? He's a little wonky. I think like that. Perfect. He's cute. I love it. Okay. Let's peel the backer off. Oh, I never moved my T ruler. So I said yeah, and now I don't even remember where that was supposed to be. I think it was like right here. Wait a minute. Did I look there? No, maybe a little bit more up. Okay. Does that look straight? Maybe not. Right there. Okay. Now for my hello. Put here, put some there. Okay. Put the hello right here. Ooh, I might have put too much liquid adhesive on that, so it's really sliding around. I'll wipe some of that up. There we go. Maybe I should I like a little bit of a gap between them. Hello, spring. Okay. Make sure that is straight. That looks great. Hello, spring. A Spectrum Noir glitter pen. And I'm gonna add some shimmer to my mushroom. Maybe a little bit to the raindrops. Some of the water. Maybe add some shimmer to his umbrella. And that's cute. Okay, so I don't know if you'll be able to see it in the camera. And that's cute. I like it. Okay, now here is the question. Do I want to add some jewels? Maybe not those ones. Maybe. These are my favorite, the iridescent ones. I don't know. Let me look. I might. So I'm throwing things everywhere. Do I want to do a couple of jewels? I know I have some little ones in here. Yeah, like oh, I might. So we kind of have a visual triangle here and here. So I'm just going to put them off to the side, and then I'm going to place my iridescent pearls. I love these. They go with just about any card. I don't think there's a card that I had that they didn't look great with. And that'll complete card number 1. Super simple, easy to do, but looks like we did a lot. Okay, so now let's move to our next panel, which is the white pigment ink. I like this too. I mean, I know on camera it's really hard to see the lettering in the white space, but in person you could really see it. So don't let that deter you from using white ink. Okay, so now let's find all of our pieces. I have stuff everywhere and I can't find my, here, look at that, that's cute. Our second frame. So give me just a second. What did I do with it? I literally had it. There it is. Okay. Here we go. So we're gonna add our frame to the second panel. All right. Try not to get fingerprints everywhere. Did I not get enough glue in that corner? I might not have. Let me just squirt. Okay, so I got that there. Perfect. I got too much right there, but that's okay. All right, so now we need to die cut our little gnome. I'm only trimming him down because I'm actually going to use my sidekick, so I need to make sure that he fits in my sidekick. in between my Sidekick cutting plates, which I believe he should, and he does. Perfect. Okay, so let me pull out the die. All right. So I'm going to tape this down because I don't want it to shift when I'm cutting it out, which, yeah, I think that looks fine. Okay. Here's my little Sidekick. This little lever right here is what allows the Sidekick to actually stick to your surface so it doesn't move when you're running your plates through. It's not the perfect. I didn't line it up the greatest, but that's okay. That's what makes it a handmade card, right? The small little imperfections. Okay. Oh, he's cute. We'll pop him up as well using some of that foam tape. That went flying. There it is. Okay. So we'll pop the backers off. Using my reverse tweezers to kind of help hold on to this. I'm trying not to touch everything because I do have a lot of ink on my hands, so I'm not trying to get any more fingerprints everywhere. Put him down. Just gonna make sure he looks straight, and he does. Perfect. Bring in my spring sentiment. Okay. So I can see. Come up a little bit more. Perfect. All right, and then we will get our little hello. I like these thinner foam squares. I love taking the backing off of them. They're so easy. Maybe not use as much glue as I did last time. I'll put that right there. Perfect. Awesome. Bring in our shimmer pen. Highlight the same areas. A little bit on the water. Just for that added sparkle. And then let's bring in our iridescent drops from PinkFresh Studio. All right, just throw them on my glass mat. All right, so let's do you here. Here. I kind of like the placement last time, so I think I'm just gonna copy the same thing, although I think I used a bigger one down at the bottom. Right here and right here. Pretty sure that one was that bigger? No, I guess it was the same. They have a really, really big one, but I think that'll work. That's fine. So I will just scoop these back into my tray. All right, let's glue this down. Okay, let's put you here, here, whoops, here. Perfect. Awesome. How great does that look? It is so cute, so simple, so cute. Have your little shimmer and sparkle. Again, this is the white pigment ink on the background. And then we have our Whisper Amalgam ink on the background. So I will go ahead and glue these to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 top folding note card. Okay, there's one, and there's two. So there's a couple of different ways you can do this, and I've seen a few crafters. Oh, that one's a little bit too big. I'm gonna have to cut that one down. I need to trim this down a little bit. Actually, do I have one that fits a little better? That'll work. Okay. So again, I've seen crafters do this a few different ways. I've seen them put it in their Misti to line it up. I've seen them put it on their Score Buddy to line them up. So here's how I do it. And for me, it works. I find it to be very successful. I've never had an issue with it, especially if my card panels aren't exact. But here is a top folding 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card. My panel is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. I did not cut it down, so this is going to be a full card front. So how I like to do it is I turn my card panel upside down. See, flap open at the top. And I'm going to take my panel and I'm going to turn it upside down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand them up and I'm going to line them up this way. And I'm going to, and I do it because one, I know that my panel is fully lined up on top right here. And if I did have any extra, like if my base, then I know I have room at the bottom to trim it off, because you wouldn't be able to trim it off up at the top, because then you would lose your fold. So that's why I turn it upside down and I line them up, because I know that if I needed to do any trimming, it could be done at the bottom. So I'm gonna grab a paper towel because I have ink all over my fingers, and I'm gonna use my paper towel to press this in to my card base. There we go. And here is our first card. It's cute. And I will do the same thing one more time to our second card. Here, let me zoom out a little bit. So I'm gonna, again, flip it over, add my glue. Liquid glue is the best because it gives you that wiggle room to make sure everything's in place. Okay, so see, here's my bottom. This is how the card would open, right? We're gonna flip that upside down. We're gonna take your front of the panel and flip that upside down. And we're gonna line up the fold. Is gonna touch the glass mat. My panel is gonna touch the glass mat, and we're just gonna butt up the two, right? And so now we know that the top lines up perfectly, and if I had any extra at the bottom, I would trim that off. So in this case, I'm gonna push everything down. And here, I do have a little bit. I have a little bit of a lip. And so I'll probably trim that off. and I'll probably put it in my trimmer and I'll just slice that right off. I mean, it's not that bad, I might not, but that's how I would take care of this edge right here. So here are the final card projects. They turned out super cute. Again, we have some ink blending. We have our heat embossing, embellishments, our Copic coloring, and then we have that glitter pen with our text background. So there's a lot going on. Even though it's a simple card, there's a lot of love we put into this. Same with the white embossing powder. I mean, not white embossing powder, the white pigment ink. So that'll complete today's card project. It is always fun to shop your stash and bring new life into the oldies but goodies we have already invested in. I do appreciate all of you for sticking through this long video, and until next time, bye!